Hey y'all, I'm Val with Our Forever Farm. I'm so glad you're here. Today has been it's been a morning. So I knew I had to go to the store to get cheese for the dish I'm making. We're making homemade lasagna. This is my daughter's recipe. So I went to the store to get cheese. Well, I forgot the noodles. I thought I had noodles. I always have noodles. So I had to go back and get noodles. Thankfully, we have a Piggly Wiggly pretty close. This is a very easy recipe. I don't like sausage in lasagna. Some people do, and that's fine. But I like it just with the ground beef and marinara or spaghetti sauce. So I'm going to show you what I use. You can doctor it up however you want to. So I'm using a pound of ground beef. I am using, let me just read it to you. I am using 3 cups of mozzarella or Monterey Jack cheese. Actually, you can use any cheese you want. 32 ounces of spaghetti sauce. You can use your homemade, you can use bought. I didn't have any homemade today. And you can use ricotta or cottage cheese. I prefer cottage cheese, but that's totally up to you. Sometimes I'll do 1 cottage cheese because these are 16 ounces and it calls for 2 of these. Let's see. It calls for 2 15 ounce, I think. So sometimes I'll do a ricotta and sometimes I'll do, mix them up, a cottage cheese. Sometimes I do both. Piggly Wiggly didn't have the ricotta, so we're just doing cottage cheese. So today I'm talking on Facebook about emergencies. And oh yeah, we gotta have noodles and we gotta have Parmesan cheese. We don't have to have Parmesan, but I'm gonna add it. So we're talking about emergencies. Now, as we know, in a different area, there is a lot of chaos and confusion and death and destruction going on. And so and I usually do this. I'm not sure I do it this time of year, but I do it at one point during the year where we should be prepared for emergencies with our pantries and different things. Today I went over a lot of things. If you missed it, I try to make the list and put it in the description box. But it's things like a first aid kit. It's things like flashlights and batteries and candles. It's things like propane for your gas grill where you'll have an alternative way to cook outside. It's talking about alternative heat in your house. Some people have generators. That's what my husband wants so bad. I think that would be cool. Some of our friends have it and it clicks on right when the power goes off. I think that would be so cool. But we're not to that point financially where we can get that yet. But we have gas logs, and at the farm we had wood heat. That's the kind of things we're talking about. Now, emergencies can come in different forms. For me, I had an emergency, and it was called colon cancer. That was a great big emergency for me and my family. For others, it's war. For others, it's kidnappings. For others, it's the weather. So we have to be prepared. Just wanted to touch base on that a little bit because I'm going to be talking about that from here on out. Now today we are making this lasagna, but don't think I forgot about the dough because the next video will be making a cheese bread with the dough the basic dough that we've made. We've made pizzas, we've made cinnamon rolls, and the next video will be the cheese bread, and that'll be to go with this lasagna. But I wanted to show you this today. It's a cool, windy day outside, and I just thought this would be warm and cozy. Let's get to cooking. So I have like a 3-quart, 4-quart pan here. I'm gonna brown my ground beef, and then I'm just gonna drain the grease off of that. So that's the first thing we're gonna do, is just brown our ground beef and then drain the grease off of this. Like I said, this is a very, very easy lasagna, and I love it. I think it's so good. It's simple. It doesn't have all the spices. You can add whatever you want to in it, though. You could do sausage and ground beef, however you want to do it. Sweet Hunter's working today at a project we have going on that we'll share a little bit later. So I'm here by myself, and I thought it would be so nice to have this just sitting waiting on him when he gets home. I'm gonna brown this up real quick. So you can also use ground deer. I'm not today, but I normally use deer a lot. You can use ground turkey, whatever you want to use. So I'm gonna brown this up and then we'll go from there. This is gonna be delicious because I'm gonna make that cheese bread to go with this, and you'll see that in the next video. So while my dough is rising, that's what I'm doing, is making this lasagna. But our meal will be lasagna and the cheese bread. It's gonna be delicious. So I've about got this browned up. I'm gonna get a paper towel and sop up this grease. That's just an easy way to drain it if you don't want to take it out of the pan. So we have our meat drained, and this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of water. I don't usually use the water. I usually just use sauce. So what it calls for 32 ounces of a thick spaghetti sauce, and I'm just gonna use sauce instead of the water. I do put a little water in my jar just to get all the goodness out. So let me do that. That way you can just shake it up and it gets you all the sauce out. I've got another can if I can open it. Yep. So this recipe calls for 32 ounces. And because I'm not doing the water, I'm doing a little bit more sauce. Now we're going to simmer this about 10 minutes. Now after I throw my trash away, I'm going to turn my oven on 350. Oops, wrong cabinet. I'm going to turn my oven on 350 and preheat it. So while our sauce is simmering for 10 or 15 minutes, I'm just got it on low, I'm going to make our cheese filling mix. This is so easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is add the cottage cheese or ricotta cheese or both, however you want to make it. Now, I will tell you, my husband hates cottage cheese, or he thinks he does, but he doesn't even know it's in here. So all we're doing is mixing all the ingredients except for the noodles into a separate bowl. So next, I'm just adding the mozzarella cheese. Oops, I forgot to tell you, 2 eggs. So I'm going to put those in a separate bowl just to make sure I don't get any shells in there. I'm going to beat my eggs just a little bit before I add them. And then I'm just going to add those in. That's just a binder. Now this recipe calls for 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, and I am adding what I have. So I'm just gonna stir all this up and mix it together really good. So far this is the cottage cheese or ricotta, whatever you want to use. I've added mozzarella cheese, 2 packages of it. It calls for 2 packages, 15 ounce, I believe, or 12 ounce, and I added 2 packages of that. I added about 1/2 cup of Parmesan. Now you can add parsley if you like to. I added 2 eggs, and I do have some fresh spinach that I'm gonna put in this. If y'all saw my last video, you saw where a company sent me a knife, nakanoknives. Very, very nice. So this is just another opportunity to use it. So I've took my fresh spinach leaves and I've just stacked them up and cut the stems off. And I'm just gonna chop these up in little pieces. This knife is heavenly. Let me get another stack. And you may say, well, anything will cut spinach, but oh, if you've had knives like mine, you will appreciate this knife. And I have cut so many other things with it that I haven't showed on video. So I can tell you for sure, I need to cut my pan off here. It's boiling pretty hard. I can tell you for sure that if you need a good knife, this is the one for you. We've cut meat with it, we've cut cheese with it. I really love it. Nakanoknives. I will put a link in the description box, and there's also a discount code for Our Forever Farm viewers. And the discount code is Our Forever Farm. Isn't that cool? I thought it was very nice to give you, our viewers, a discount code. I'm gonna actually look into buying some more of their knives because this one is so nice. I think I need just a little bit more spinach. Now, spinach is not in this recipe, but parsley is. And I would rather have spinach than parsley, and I didn't have any fresh parsley. And I love spinach. But you do not have to add that at all. And I need to add some salt and pepper to this. It calls for 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and 1 teaspoon of salt, and we like more pepper, so. The cheese already has the salt in it. So this is our filling mix right here. This is it. Just mix it up really good. Another shout out before I put it up. This is a custom made cutting board just for Our Forever Farm. I've also got the link in the description box for it. I think it's beautiful. I love it. Now, because it's just the two of us, I've got 2 dishes out. One is smaller than the other. My daughter got me these. I just think they're beautiful. They're Pioneer Woman. I think they're so pretty. But this is bakeware. I'm going to do the large one first and see how far it goes. If I have any left over, I'll do a small one and freeze it. If not, we'll eat what we can and we'll freeze what's in this. Y'all know me. I'm the freezer queen. It's fast food, y'all. Fast food. So I did throw an apron on. It's my Grandma Cochran's apron. I've showed y'all this before. I treasure it. It's a little bit stretched out on the neck or long on the neck for me. So I'm going to have to pull it up. But I couldn't tell you how old this is, but I love it. My mama gave it to me. She gave it to me way before she passed away. And I don't want to splatter anything on this shirt because my other daughter gave me this shirt. And I had to go to the store this morning, so that's the reason I'm even dressed in that. So I am gonna get about a cup out of the sauce and put it in the bottom of this baking dish. So this is how we're gonna start. We're just gonna start with covering the bottom with about a cup of sauce. One thing I love about this recipe is you can use uncooked noodles. So I'm just gonna layer about, it says 3, but I think, no, 3 will probably do it. 3 noodles in there. So next, I'm gonna layer about, let me get this spoon out of the way. I'm gonna layer about a cup and a half of sauce over these noodles and just spread it out. And then we're gonna add our filling, some of our filling mixture. We're just gonna put it on top of the marinara sauce with the meat in it. And we're gonna spread it out on top of that. This is gonna be so delicious, y'all. My sweet hunter's gonna be so happy to come home to this. I'm debating on a salad or just the bread or a loaded baked potato. I think a loaded baked potato might be good for another night because that could be a full supper, right? So now we're just gonna repeat our layers. So I'm gonna go with 3 more lasagna noodles. go with sauce. And then I'm going to go with the filling again, and I'm going to put most of the filling on here right now. I probably should have left some cheese out to top it with, but I've got another cheese that I can top it with. Whoops, spilled it everywhere. Clean counter. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish this off. So this will just be the one casserole dish, and what I'll do is we will eat what we want, and then I'll freeze the rest. I'll probably flash freeze it into pieces, and then we can pull out what we want when we want. This is a full meal right here, y'all. 3 more noodles. And we're gonna finish it off with the sauce. This will make a perfect dish for a crowd, or do what I'm doing, just for the 2 of us, and then freeze it. So thankfully I have a little cheddar cheese in here, so you can top this off with cheese. You could have saved some of the mozzarella if you were smarter than me. And I'm just gonna top this off with cheese. Isn't that just beautiful? I think it is. So the next thing I do, I'm going to take some foil, enough to cover this. I'm gonna spray the top where it doesn't stick to the cheese, and then I'm gonna cover this, and I'm gonna bake this at 350 for about 55, maybe 60 minutes covered. And then I'll uncover it and cook it for 5 to 10. Now I always like to put this on let's see, get my mess up here. I always like to put this on a cookie sheet in case it does spill over. But I've got it covered very, very good. I'm gonna place this in the oven for about an hour. Now I'm gonna work on my bread, so make sure and watch the video next. So my lasagna is fixing to come out of the oven. I've got 2 loaf pans ready to make the cheese bread. I've got my dough rising for another recipe that I'll keep in the refrigerator until it's time to make that. We've got a lot going on, don't we? But it's fun, it's enjoyable, and everybody needs to make bread. You know, we're talking about bringing things back home. We're talking about getting ready for an emergency. Now, it doesn't matter what your emergency might be. It might be, we might be living what some others are living one day. I hope not, but I want to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. But the facts are, it is gonna rain. It's gonna storm. Dark clouds are coming. We've never been promised a rose garden here in this life. And if you're a Christian, you know that for a fact. So the thing we've got to do is we've got to get our houses in order. Proverbs 31:27 describes that best to me when it reads, and let me just read it where I'll get it word for word. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. You know, I know some that are depressed. They're not necessarily lazy. They're depressed, they're down, they don't want to do anything. I've been depressed before. You don't want to do anything. But if you're not really careful, you'll get in a deep, dark hole. And you can't get out of it by yourself without the Lord where would we be without the Lord? I ask myself that all the time. So we want to looketh well to the ways of our household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. We don't want to be lazy. We want to be like the ant. We want to go and get things ready. We want a clean house. We want an organized house. We want it to the point where we're not obsessed with it. It just happens. We want a stocked pantry. We want water for our family in case of an emergency. We want to know how to make bread, even if it's a simple bread like I'm making from a basic dough. We want to learn how to do some skills. That's so important. So I'm going to get this lasagna out. This was an easy lasagna. I've still got to leave it in the oven for like 10 more minutes uncovered to get the top brown. But you'll see, it's a beautiful lasagna. It's easy. If you doubled this recipe, you could make 2, freeze 1. I usually do that. I didn't today because it's just the 2 of us. We'll each eat 1 piece and I'll freeze the rest. So we'll have a whole lasagna left. So let's get it out of the oven. I'm pretty sure the timer's fixing to go off. Let me get you over here where you can see it. It is sizzling. Oh my goodness, don't that look delicious? That looks delicious. So I'm gonna uncover this. I'm gonna put it back in the oven for about 10 minutes and let it brown some on the top. So one thing you want to do if you don't boil your noodles, which you don't have to in this lasagna, is you do want to stick a fork in your noodles and make sure they are tender. I did that. I was planning on putting that in the oven for 10 more minutes. I did that. My noodles are not quite done. So I'm going to leave that in another 10 minutes and then I'll take it out and brown it. So we're going to try this one more time and see if it needs any more cooking. It smells so good. I just want to check the noodles before I actually put it back in for the 10 minutes. And they are done. So in my oven, it took 10 more minutes. So remember that every oven is different. You may not can hear me over that stove or that oven. It's loud. Every oven is different. And so it may take just a little bit more time in yours. It may take a little less. So just check it. Now it's time to uncover it and cook it where it'll be brown, a little bit brown on the top. You don't want it to be crusty, but you want it to be a little brown on the top. Here we go. It looks and smells delicious. I'm not going to cut into it now. It's good to let it sit and rest for about 5 to 10 minutes before you cut it. Sweet Hunter's not here yet, so I might give it a taste test here in a minute. We'll see. But it looks delicious. Love it. I might have to just sneak in here just a little bit and get just a smidgen. It is very, very hot. The noodles are done very good. Look how hot it is. I'm going to let this cool just a minute and then we're going to taste of it. I know it's going to be good. I'm going to give this a taste test in just a minute when it cools. But I want to remind you to watch the bread video where we make the cheese bread. That's what's going to go with this. So I didn't quite get it done in time to end this video, but I want y'all to watch it. It'll be the next video. I'm going to try to see if this is cool enough. hot. Hot. Let's see if this is cool enough now. It was pretty hot a while ago. Great. Love it. Make some lasagna. Y'all go cook something.